There are 820,000 people in the UK today living with some form of dementia. 1 in 3 people over the age of 65 will die from this disease. With the number of sufferers rising rapidly, it is alarming to know that just 2.5% of the government's medical budget is spent on dementia research, compared with the staggering 25% of their budget being spent on cancer research. This shocking statistic could be the indication of the lack of knowledge that the public have on this disease. How much do you know about this disease?
It's a nervous, like a dementia. Other than that, not a lot.
That's great, thank you.
People should be made more aware because it can come on very slowly.
Well, it's a degenerative brain disease that affects mainly elderly people, but can affect sort of people in their 50s and stuff.
All I know is they lose their minds, don't they? And they don't know what they're doing and their planning of day to day, and that's it really. So that's all I really know about it.
Not a lot, unfortunately.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Carol's father suffers from Alzheimer's. He lives in a care home a short distance away, and today she is preparing to carry out her weekly visit.
He has had it probably about 5 years. It started with little things where he would just forget things, or we'd have the same conversation quite a few times.
And there's the first step you took him to the doctors?
Well, we talked to him about it because it's very hard to say, we think you need to go to the doctors because you're forgetting things. You know, it's very hard for us. A man that's brought his family up, has always been lively, able, doing lots of things, and then suddenly we're saying, I think your memory's going a bit. So we talked about it, and then we went up and we had a chat with the doctor, and I went with him.
So how often do you go to visit your father?
It varies. I mean, the plan is that I go 2 or 3 times a week because I've got my mum as well, and she's very elderly. So I get the shopping, I do the washing, I do some cleaning for them, things like that. But there are times when, if he is unwell or he's having a really bad time and my mum can't cope, then I have to go up. And last week I was up every day.
Anything you want to put across about people being aware of it?
I think it's very scary. It's scary for us. Some of the time it's scary for my dad because he has moments and he knows that he's forgetting things. He knows that he's repeating himself. And he, because of that, is withdrawing in himself because he gets embarrassed.
Angela is a care assistant in a local care home in Maidstone. She deals with dementia sufferers and their relatives on a daily basis.
Your job involves you caring for the elderly on a regular basis. How many of these suffer with dementia?
I work in a small home. There's about 13 residents, and the majority of them do suffer with dementia in one form or another.
What's the most difficult part of your job?
Knowing that the patient's never going to get better completely, we're there to help them understand, why they're going through this, but coming to terms with them losing their identity, basically.
What is the general reaction of relatives visiting dementia sufferers?
They can get frustrated and upset at times when they see their relatives slowly deteriorating, forgetting more and more each time they go in, and the relative gets angry and frustrated with themselves, which the relative can't really understand. There are, as I said, a lot of help out there with support groups. Go to your GP and they will be able to refer you and give you numbers to charities, and people can help.
Sandra's dad, Leslie, has been suffering from Alzheimer's for 2.5 years. The disease has developed over a period of 4 years, and Leslie's family have painfully watched this deterioration.
How has your father changed since he developed Alzheimer's?
Well, my dad, he always used to be the font of all knowledge. He was a person who everybody went to. He seemed to know about everything. He seemed to be able to do everything. he started to lose his memory. That was the first thing. And that gradually got worse. He couldn't find things. Then there was one occasion when we went to visit him and he'd forgotten that we were coming, even though I'd spoken to him the night before. And he was then quite shocked that he'd forgotten that we were going.
At what point did you start to realise that he may actually have the disease?
I think when he started accusing people of stealing, that was the first thing, and calling the police and saying his next door neighbour was stealing from him. I think that was the first thing, really. There was another thing when he lost his driving licence. I think his doctor at that point did indicate that that he had Alzheimer's. I had a conversation with his doctor, and his doctor he said that eventually he would have to go into a home, and he accepted it better really than I thought he would, because he saw people as helping him.
So obviously at some point he had to go into a care home. What made you decide for him to go into a care home so far away? Because he goes to one in Manchester. Yeah,
the reason for that was that my sister lives in Manchester, and at the point that he went into a care home, my husband had got a job in Australia, and that meant that I would be spending quite a lot of time in Australia. So I thought that if he was in a care home near where I live, that I wouldn't be around to visit him all of the time.
So what's it like visiting your dad when he's so far from home and not the person he used to be?
It's very hard. It takes 5 hours to get there, and the time that I spend getting there, I'm thinking about what's ahead of me. And when we go into the home, he doesn't know who I am, and I find that the home is a very depressing place. And to be honest, I've been in very few care homes which I think I would like to live in. I think a lot of people say that people should go in homes, and I think to myself, well, would you like to go in one? You know, if you go and look around a care home, would you like to live there? That's what I think, and I think that's about where my dad is, quite honestly, and you know, that gives me a lot of problems, really. I think. I think, how could I put him in there?
So obviously it's had quite a big effect on you and your family.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, most people are close to their parents, and, you know, if you think of your own parents, you're a lot younger than me, and your parents will be a lot younger. You know, would you want them to live in a home? That's the thing, and who does? My father used to say, when he first started to get ill, that he had a few friends who died when they were in their 50s of heart attacks, and he said that that he wished that had happened to him because it was quick and you didn't go through this slow deterioration. And the last thing that he wanted was to end up the way he is.
That's all the questions. Thank you.
In the later stages of Alzheimer's, sufferers will no longer have the ability to communicate or recognize people, even family. There are 820,000 people in the UK living with dementia. How much do you know about this disease?